Hi everyone, Steve here from RSM and welcome to the latest episode of our Coffee Conversation series. Today I'm excited, I'm joined by our RSM's in-house economist, Devika Shivadekar. Welcome Devika.
Thanks, Steve.
This is the second interview we've done together. The last one was probably a couple of years ago, I think. And to say that the economic landscape is different to what was then is probably an understatement. To say that we're living in challenging times is probably an understatement of the century as well. We'll get into that very shortly, but before we do that, particularly for those of us who are joining us that didn't weren't there last time, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? But before that, this is a conversation over a coffee. Last time I do recall you were having a tea. And now you've kind of changed it up to something else.
Yeah.
Yes. So what are we talking about here?
It's vodka.
There we are.
No,
So
it's water.
it's not vodka, it's water. And I've still got an oat latte, but
Yes.
that's all good. So with that said, perhaps if you could tell us a little bit about yourself, and then a little bit about your role within RSM.
Yes. So thank you so much for joining us today, everyone. I have been with RSM for close to 2 years now. So back when we spoke for the first time, that was when I had just joined. A couple of months into my new role, was quite nervous, didn't know how this coffee conversation goes, but this time I'm a lot more confident.
Very
Happy
good.
to be back. It's been an amazing 2 years, a big learning curve in the sense that I've had a very different experience prior to joining RSM. So I've had to unlearn and relearn a lot of things. My audience has changed. The way I look at data has changed. The way I write my reports has changed. And I can only say that it's changed for the good. I particularly enjoy being able to go on the ground, speak to the clients, hear what they are facing day in, day out, rather than simply relying on numbers. That's giving me a good base when it comes to my outlook, when it comes to my forecasts. And I'll be honest, Steve, I really like being challenged. So when I go with my set of numbers and then the clients push back and be like, no, but this is what we are seeing on the ground, it just makes me better.
Yeah,
Because
fantastic.
I learn something with every conversation and I'm just so incredibly happy to be here.
Yeah, well, we're very, very happy that you're here. And I'm delighted that you're here in Brisbane again, our great city of Brisbane. And I want to come back to that just in terms of your thoughts around, our economy and some of the challenges and more importantly, some of the opportunities. And we'll sort of move towards that towards the end of the conversation. But maybe if you'd share with us, as I said at the get-go of this conversation, I think to say we live in challenging times or interesting times is the understatement of the century. We've got so many dynamics happening on the global front as well as the domestic front. So I'd love you to share probably some of your observations around, some of the challenges that we have in front of us, both from a local perspective, I guess, from a Brisbane perspective, well, I guess all from a Brisbane perspective, Australian perspective, and then also the global picture as well.
Of course. So, let me start by saying how grateful I am to President Donald Trump in the sense that when the RBA stopped hiking interest rates, there was a bit of an existential crisis for me as an economist. I kept wondering, what am I going to talk about now when I do my presentations? But here we are.
Yeah.
And there's something new every single day. I'll share a funny incident. I put out a tariff note, and from the day I started writing it to the day it got published, everything had changed. So I had to insert notes under my charts in that report saying as of writing on this date, because the tariff percentages and everything had completely flipped. Countries had started pushing back. Trump had extended the tariff deadlines, and so many things happened within the span of 3 days. Not kidding. So a lot of excitement. And of course, coming back to reality, it's not so much excitement as uncertainty.
Yeah.
And when we look at businesses, particularly the middle market, where most of our client base is, a lot of them are worried about how to go ahead with their investment decisions because they don't know where it's going to lead to. Would they rather, they're being very cautious with how they're spending their money, whether it comes to hiring, whether it comes to expansion plans, whether it comes to just simply investing in the growth of the business. Because They are quite worried, particularly the businesses that have dealings with US consumers. Tariffs are going to push up prices significantly, which means naturally the demand for their goods and services are going to go down.
Sure.
Local consumers in the United States would be keen to not pursue goods and services coming from outside of the US, for which they'll have to pay higher prices. So that's something that has been weighing very heavily on the minds of businesses, particularly in a city like Brisbane, which has an abundant number of small to medium sized enterprises. It's a growing city. It's one of the younger cities. So you can understand that not having seen that side of the world before is weighing very greatly on their minds. The good thing for Brisbane, I would say, is getting more and more people in the sense there's a lot of interstate migration into Queensland. Brisbane still ranks as one of the top cities for youngsters to come to, for businesses to move to, whether it's regarding cost of living, cost of doing business. Brisbane is the one which is actually trumping Sydney and Melbourne. Sydney is extremely expensive, whether house of living, cost of doing business. Melbourne, too saturated. Brisbane is just at that sweet spot where the costs are manageable. There's an abundantly growing economy in the sense that consumers are still a lot more stronger than they are in Sydney and Melbourne. And at the same time, the weather is amazing.
It is
Who
amazing.
wouldn't want to come here?
Absolutely.
You've
Couldn't
got
agree more.
yeah, you've got the beaches, you've got the
Yeah.
best ones. This is a surfer's paradise.
Absolutely. We'll talk about when you're actually moving here permanently a little bit later. But and I love to hear that, because do you see that just continuing, the net migration and that's not going to slow down anytime soon?
Look, I think you are set to experience a fair bit of it at least until 2030 when we have the Olympics. 2032, sorry, correct. I'm sorry. 2032 is when we have the Olympics in Brisbane, and naturally you are going to need a lot more people to help with the infrastructure development leading up to the games.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of availability of opportunities for laborers generally, and businesses as well, because we to give you an example, what happened in Melbourne with the Taylor Swift concert, you saw how much that single quarter, how much business that single quarter saw for all kinds of businesses in Melbourne.
extraordinary.
It was extraordinary. And the Olympics are not just a one-day thing. They are going to be spanning a couple of months. So naturally, there's a lot of opportunity for jobs, infrastructure development, a lot of opportunities for businesses to come and set up their base for the duration of the Olympic Games and to really do good business.
Yeah.
So Brisbane has a lot going in its favor. Perhaps it'll ebb and flow as the situation changes. Naturally, there are some roadblocks when you undergo major infrastructure development projects.
Yeah.
There are bound to be roadblocks. So the flow of people, the flow of opportunities might ebb and flow, but it's consistently going to trend higher is what I feel, at least until the Olympics.
Yeah.
So the short to medium term outlook looks favorable.
Yeah, which is fantastic. And I'm also keen to understand your thoughts a little on the longer term impact. I'm incredibly excited for the Olympics in Brisbane. I think I look at what happened with Expo 88 all of those years ago. That put Brisbane on the map in many ways, but Expo 88 was a relatively small event. This puts Brisbane on the truly global stage, where every corner of the globe will know about Brisbane, will know where we are. We get to showcase what the city, not just Brisbane, it's also Australia, but obviously I'm excited because I'm a Brisbaneite and I love my city, and we just have that amazing opportunity. But I'm also very excited around what happens post-Olympics, because, and I know one of the controversial aspects is the stadium. We're building a new stadium at Victoria Park, and there's certainly been no shortage of controversy in terms of that, in terms of the fact that it's, the cost of the stadium, the location of the stadium, those sorts of things. Your comments about the impact of Taylor Swift, to me, I look at it and I think we're going to have a stadium that we can do those sorts of things with now as well. So looking past the Olympics, with the infrastructure that we have to build to host the Olympics, what do you see in your crystal ball as the opportunities for Brisbane post 2032, if I can ask you that?
Yeah, look, I think you quite a bit answered the question yourself, in the sense that infrastructure development is usually permanent. So all the rails and roads connectivity from say regional Queensland to leading to Brisbane is going to open up a lot of avenues. You are going to be well connected to the regional areas. A good example is Toowoomba, which is still quite well connected by road. But imagine people being able to move further to Toowoomba, travel into Brisbane for work. That is going to give a boost to the regional economy as well. So Olympics are likely to bring about a lot of changes, not just for Brisbane, but for the entire state of Queensland. Secondly, like you said, it's going to put Brisbane on the global map, which means every time someone talks about Australia, it's not just going to be the Sydney Harbour Bridge or the Opera House. It is going to be the Gabba, or it is going to be Brisbane, or it is going to be Surfers Paradise, or it's going to be Gold Coast. So it is 100% going to put Queensland on the map. Also, leading up to the development of the Olympics infrastructure, stadium, the whole build-up, a lot of investment is going to flow into the state, whether it is by the federal government or internationally, in order to house the best athletes in the world. And if you are able to establish, if Brisbane is able to establish itself as one of the most smoothest Olympic experience, you can very well imagine a lot of pop stars like Taylor Swift, Coldplay. I think Pink had a concert the last time I was in Brisbane.
She did indeed, and I attended that concert.
Yes, I remember that.
It was actually the day that we did the
luncheon, because I couldn't find a cab to go to the airport.
That's correct.
Yes.
I remember that as
well.
well.
So I made sure I have today's event, not when Pink is performing.
Correct.
Yes.
Or any other international.
Or any other international. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's a lot going on in Brisbane's favour. And look, the short to medium term benefits that we are going to see are going to be extended in the sphere of infrastructure development and being able to attract more people in. And naturally, when you have a younger population coming into the city, the problem of productivity that Australia is facing, Brisbane would probably be able to get out of it faster, because you'll have a greater working age population.
Yeah.
So that's one way to look at it.
That's very good. And I love that, the positivity that you kind of see for our economy.
100%.
So, Devika, thank you so much. It's always an absolute delight to talk with you, and so happy to have you as part of the RSM team. And the last 2 years has gone so quickly. I'm looking forward to the next 2 years, and we'll be catching up again before that, most definitely. But thank you for making the trip to Brisbane, and thanks for joining me in this conversation. And thank you all for tuning in. I'm sure you got some insights from Devika in that short conversation. Until next time, we'll see you all again then. Thank you.
Just one before we cut.
Yes.
We got to do this, Steve.
Yes.
Ready?
Yes.
1, 2,
Yes.
3. You're so nervous.
I had no idea what you were going to do. Yeah, I did. See how that turns out. Love to keep it in.